prison cells in El Salvador.
I was part of the team that put together the indictment. At that time, once we charged them, then we put forward the documentation requesting them to be extradited to the United States.
Brunner said he and his colleagues hoped Bukele would hand over the gang leaders they were seeking.
Yes, you can have these top 14 members because they're the leaders. Let's look good for the world, that we want to rid MS-13, getting them out of the equation. So we thought that it would work in our favor.
But then, events in El Salvador would complicate the effort.
The United States has expressed concern after El Salvador's National Assembly dismissed the Attorney General and 5 judges from the Constitutional Court.
Bukele was in the midst of consolidating his power. He and his allies forced out officials who'd been working with Brunner and Task Force Vulcan, including the country's Attorney General, who himself was investigating Bukele's ties to gangs. They also replaced key judges with Bukele loyalists on the nation's top court, which has the final say in approving extraditions.
When Bukele changed the structure of the Supreme Court, that's really where it changed, and the entire relationship with Vulcan and with how we would get our results. We knew that the door was pretty much shut from getting anybody out of El Salvador.
ProPublica reporters T. Christian Miller and Sebastian Rotella have written about the fight over the extraditions and Bukele's dealings with El Salvador's gangs.
We had sources both in the United States and sources who were very close to the Supreme Court in El Salvador, who were telling us that the El Salvadoran Supreme Court justices were receiving calls from Bukele's office, essentially saying, do whatever it takes to stop extraditions.
What the gangs were getting was a deal that was more sophisticated and more expansive than the deals that previous governments had cut. And what the gangs ask for is very insistently is protection from extradition.
Bukele's government insisted the gang leaders needed to first face justice in their own country. But in Washington, where President Biden was now in office, there was growing tension with Bukele.
He stalled or completely killed at least a dozen extradition requests. And that was something that was concerning for us.
Juan Gonzalez was one of Biden's senior advisors on El Salvador. He said he was concerned about the reports of Bukele's deal with the gangs.
The agreement that he entered with the gangs allowed the gang leadership to continue to operate. So it was almost like a détente between Bukele and the gangs.
In late 2021, the Biden administration ordered sanctions on 2 of Bukele's closest associates, including Carlos Marroquin, for negotiating with the gangs. Bukele responded, saying the allegations were an obvious lie.
The U.S. government is really putting the pressure on Bukele over extradition, over democracy, over a lot of things. And one of the main sort of points of contention is this extradition request for one of the top people in MS-13, which is Elmer Canales Rivera, also known as Cruz. There's an extradition notice for him. There's an Interpol Red notice for him.
Elmer Canales Rivera was one of the imprisoned gang leaders named in the documents obtained by Alfaro as having helped make the pact between MS-13 and the Bukele government.
Cruz es fundador de la cúpula de la Mara Salvatrucha 13 en El Salvador, que se conoce como la Ranfla.
Cruz era uno de los líderes más violentos de la Mara Salvatrucha 13, alguien que se jactaba de haber asesinado a algunas de sus víctimas con sus propias manos.
As the U.S. pressed Bukele to extradite him, there was a startling development.
Suddenly, Cruz, who is in prison in El Salvador, disappears.
Obtuvimos documentos donde el juez que llevaba la causa de Cruz preguntaba dónde está Cruz.
Lo conseguimos rastrear porque la novia era muy, digamos, fan de usar redes sociales. Ella sacaba fotografías y videos donde aparecía Cruz e intentaba tapar su cara con emoticones. Pero conocíamos al dedillo los tatuajes de ese hombre Entonces, aunque le pusieran un osito a la cara de Krug, sabíamos que era él.
Cruzó a Guatemala, comió en un restaurante cerca de la frontera. Logramos comprobar, gracias al menú que estaba sobre la mesa, en qué restaurante de Guatemala pasó comiéndose un cóctel de camarones.
Decidimos seguir en silencio esa cuenta hasta que el rastro se pierde en México. El asunto es que luego supimos otra cosa.
El Faro reporters obtained a secret recording made by gang members of Carlos Marroquin, saying he'd personally helped Crook, whom he called El Viejo, the old man, get out of prison.
Yo al viejo lo saqué de adentro, brother, en una forma de ayudarles a todos y de demostrarles mi lealtad y confianza. Pues yo mismo lo fui a traer allá y yo mismo lo fui a Guatemala.
Esta es una confesión de un agente formal del gobierno de El Salvador que llevó a un pandillero, miembro de la cúpula de la Mara Salvatrucha, y lo liberó en Guatemala, a sabiendas de que debía 40 años en El Salvador y a sabiendas de que el gobierno de los Estados Unidos lo estaba requiriendo en extradición.
The El Faro reporters tried to talk to Marroquin about the recording, but he didn't respond. A prominent member of Bukele's party in the Congress has cast doubt on its authenticity.
Si este hombre estaba preso, ¿cómo quedó libre? ¿Quién lo ayudó? Está el audio de Carlos Marroquin diciendo que lo llevó a Guatemala.
Bueno, ellos dicen que es el audio de él. Yo te digo,
Aún no entendemos exactamente por qué Bukele liberó a Krug. Tenemos una hipótesis, y la hipótesis es que liberó a Krug para que controlara las ansiedades de las estructuras en las calles y les ordenara mantener el pacto de reducir los homicidios. Pero si esa era la misión de Krug falló rotundamente.
By 2022, gang violence was flaring again in El Salvador.
Ese pacto tuvo sus altibajos, porque cuando las pandillas se sentían por alguna razón incómodas o pensaban que el pacto no avanzaba como querían, mataban. Esa era su moneda de cambio, la muerte. Siempre lo fue.
It reached a boiling point. Over one weekend, after the gang claimed some of its members, who they believed should have been protected by their deal with the Bukele government, were arrested.
Murieron 87 personas en un solo fin de semana, sin ton ni son. La mayoría no eran pandilleros, no había sido parte de la guerra entre pandillas.
En solo 3 días se han producido cerca de 80 asesinatos, 62 de ellos ayer sábado.
El sábado 26 de marzo de 2022 fue el día más violento de toda la posguerra salvadoreña.
Era la Mara Salvatrucha intentando enviar un mensaje al gobierno diciendo: nosotros podemos subir y podemos bajar los asesinatos a voluntad.
Amid the violence, MS-13 gave the government 72 hours to release the gang members it had arrested. In a recorded phone call obtained by El Faro, Carlos Marroquin told a gang leader he had relayed the ultimatum to Bukele, who he referred to as Batman.
Pues ya le tiré a Batman que hay 72 horas para dar una respuesta. Él no se lo tomó a bien, se lo tomó a mal, como quien vino que no me estén amenazando y no sé qué va. Entonces la vuelta está en que lo que Batman me dijo, vamos a ver cómo se reacciona en las próximas horas y yo te aviso si nos reunimos mañana.
Y Bukele, que hay que reconocer que a muchas cosas reacciona rápidamente, decide convocar a su asamblea legislativa, que él ya controlaba plenamente, y ordenarles que establezcan un régimen de excepción. Y entonces termina el pacto.
Esta noche me estoy sumando para poder dar nuestro voto a este régimen de excepción.
Esos terroristas, esos criminales van a pagar las consecuencias.
Queda aprobado el proyecto de decreto que contiene régimen de excepción.
The state of exception was an emergency measure granting Bukele expanded powers. Among them, the ability to detain gang suspects for long periods without trial or even charges.
promete que iba a terminar con las pandillas, con el régimen de excepción. Y en esas primeras semanas se capturaron a miles de salvadoreños. Las cárceles se llenaron de gente. De pandilleros, claro. Y a inocentes aún un montón.
He sent the police and the army to carry on massive incarcerations. So police officers needed to fulfill quotas of arrested people without a judicial order.
Sin embargo, desarticuló a las pandillas a través de esa embestida. La pesca con dinamita funcionó.
Entramos caminando a comunidades que, te digo, antes nos hubieran matado por entrar caminando eso. Sin pedirle permiso a nadie, sin negociar con nadie, sin avisarle a nadie. Y ahí en todas las comunidades la gente nos dijo cuando les preguntamos, en el régimen se han llevado a gente inocente. Las 14 nos dijeron sí. ¿Y está feliz con el régimen? Sí. La gente estaba dispuesta a que se llevaran a unos inocentes a cambio de que ya no hubiera pandillas. Y yo eso lo puedo entender. Nosotros, como reporteros del Faro, sabemos lo que las pandillas le hicieron a esa gente. Sabemos cómo descuartizaron, lo sabemos.
The state of exception is an emergency measure that our constitution considers for a month with the possibility of being renewed. We are entering our 5th year under a state of exception. It means that it has been renewed month after month by Congress.
Some of the people arrested ended up in Sicon, Bukele's new terrorism confinement center.
Bukele shows off these new prisoners like the spoils of war. He produces these slick social media videos showing hundreds of guys in prison garb, crouched in humiliating positions. That imagery really goes global.
President Bukele is one of the most popular leaders in the entire world.
As proof of his success, Bukele even welcomed the Miss Universe pageant to the once violent city of San Salvador.
Put your hands together for President Bukele!
But also during this time in 2023, prosecutors in the U.S. had unsealed a second indictment that echoed much of Alfaro's reporting on the pact Bukele had made with MS-13, including the role of Bukele's director of social fabric, Carlos Marroquin.
The second major indictment by Task Force Vulcan was released in February of 2023. This included guys who actually would execute and communicate the orders from the Salvadoran prison to different gang groups in the United States. This document really, for us, was really interesting because it really spells out in very clear terms that the U.S. government believes that there's a truce going on, or a negotiation going on, between the Bukele government and the MS-13 gang. MS-13 leaders agreed to reduce the number of public murders in El Salvador, which politically benefited the government of El Salvador by creating the perception the government was reducing the murder rate, when in fact MS-13 leaders continued to authorize murders where the victims' bodies were buried or otherwise hidden.
Bukele didn't publicly respond to the indictment, but it further strained relations with the Biden administration.
I think that during the Biden years, El Salvador and the United States had the lowest point in the two countries' relationship since, as far as I can remember.
If it were known that Bukele, portraying himself as an order candidate, was sending his people to go and negotiate with the very people he was supposed to be cracking down on, it could also result in criminal charges because the Salvadoran Supreme Court had designated MS-13 as terrorists, and there was any likelihood that if Bukele leaves office and leaves government, that the incoming government would pursue him with criminal charges.
Along with the indictment, the U.S. was able to arrest key MS-13 fugitives who'd left El Salvador.
Elmer Canales Rivera, alias Crow, un peligroso e influyente cabecilla de la Mara Salvatrucha, fue capturado recientemente en México.
After 2 years on the run, Elmer Canales Rivera, the MS-13 leader known as Crook, was finally captured.
The U.S. and the Mexican authorities have been working very closely to pursue a number of the MS-13 leaders who were active in Mexico, and he is arrested in Tapachula near the border with Guatemala, and he's brought to Houston where the U.S. takes him into custody.
It was something that, you know, we celebrated when the Department of Justice and Vulcan actually were able to kind of engineer this.
He was charged with orchestrating murders and drug trafficking in the U.S. and pled not guilty. But there was much more behind his arrest.
According to people familiar with the matter, once he was in U.S. custody, Crook provided recordings and videos about the deal-making that happened between the El Salvador government and MS-13.
Washington Post reporter John Hudson broke the story about Crook becoming an informant.
Crook provided an incredible amount of information to the United States government about the allegedly corrupt deals between MS-13 and the El Salvador government in exchange for the vast reduction in violence in the country.
Desde ese momento, Estados Unidos tiene en sus manos, y todavía a día de hoy lo tiene en sus manos, a la prueba de que el gobierno de Nayib Bukele negoció con un grupo que según Estados Unidos es un grupo terrorista transnacional. Creo que es la prueba evidente de eso. Si en algún momento Estados Unidos quisiera enterrar a Bukele en un juicio, su mejor opción es Crook.
In 2024, amid the increasing
Ay,
evidence
qué
of Bukele's
desgraciados.
past dealings with the gangs, he was re-elected in a landslide. And though his relationship with the Biden administration had been strained, he had other influential American allies who would soon become even more important.
His second inauguration is like a who's who of the MAGA elite. You have Donald Trump Jr., Tucker Carlson, all of these people who are so essential to kind of crafting the MAGA narrative in the U.S. have come to El Salvador.
If you can fix El Salvador, what are the lessons for the rest of us? What did you do first?
Well, of course, you cannot do anything if you have peace.
Okay, guys, we got the whole crew here. We are now in El Salvador. We got the police escort.
Bukele has bet his future, really, on his alliance with the Trump Republicans. And that bet pays off because Trump is reelected, comes into office, and instead of the United States that is criticizing Bukele for what he's doing, he now has a partner in the United States.
We will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
Trump's promised a closed border and mass deportations. Many are wondering what steps will he take to make good on his word.
Within weeks of Trump taking office, Bukele saw an opportunity that could help him and the American president. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was traveling through Central America to gain support for the administration's immigration efforts. He stopped in El Salvador to meet Bukele.
They spent a lot of time together, they delivered statements together, and Bukele even invited him to his lake house.
Reporter John Hudson traveled with Rubio to El Salvador.
Bukele made an extraordinary offer. He said he was willing to use his mega prison, Sicote, to house almost anyone that the United States wanted to deport to El Salvador.
He has agreed to accept deportation. Any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails.
The Trump administration jumped at the offer. But Bukele wanted something too. The return to El Salvador of 9 indicted MS-13 leaders in U.S. custody, including the gang leader turned informant, Crook.
Rubio is trying to seal the deal, and he mentions that he is under pressure from the president. Bukele at this moment has maximum leverage over the United States, and he says to Marco Rubio, I need 9 MS-13 members in U.S. custody in order for this deal to take place. You need to give me your word that I'm going to get these 9 men. Rubio then says to Bukele, you have my word, but there's a problem. Some of the MS-13 members you're asking for were actually informants to the United States government. And as informants, they enjoyed protective status. According to officials familiar with these conversations, Rubio is promising him the United States will do this deal. He will get his men, but it is going to take a little bit of time.
On March 16th, planeloads of deportees from the U.S. began arriving in El Salvador.
Para escribir, everybody.
The Trump administration reported more than 200. President Trump had gotten what he wanted. And among the mostly Venezuelan men being ushered into SECOT was a sign Bukele was starting to get what he wanted too.
Cuando llegan los primeros 3 vuelos con venezolanos deportados, los periodistas salvadoreños que hemos cubierto pandillas desde hace años, nos quedamos anonadados cuando vimos que uno de esos hombres hincados era César Humberto Larios, Greñas.
Greñas was a founding member of the MS-13 leadership, and his capture in 2024 was touted by U.S. authorities as a major achievement. But now the Justice Department had dropped its case against him, citing sensitive and important foreign policy considerations.
It was a deal within a deal. You had on the surface a deal where Trump sent deportees to Bukele's prison. But in fact, the U.S. was sending back a criminal who Bukele wanted in El Salvador to protect his story and to hide information about the secret negotiations he had had with gangs in his country.
Los quiere de vuelta en El Salvador para silenciarlo en un eventual juicio donde su nombre aparezca vinculado a la Mara Salvatrucha.
After Greñas' return, Bukele said it would help El Salvador finalize intelligence gathering and go after the last remnants of MS-13. No one from the Trump administration would agree to an interview about his deal with Bukele. But Secretary Rubio has defended the Salvadoran president.
You couldn't even live in El Salvador. You couldn't walk the streets of El Salvador. Now it's one of the safest countries in the region. That's why President Bukele has 90% approval rate.
What did I think when I saw Greñas get off that plane? I was sad. I was sad because I knew that was a lot of hard work that we did for Vulcan. If we're sending now the leaders, which Vulcan captured, we're sending them back to El Salvador, we no longer get access to that wealth of information, that intelligence, those networks, finding out how it worked. And my concerns were the other Vulcan captures, the other MS-13 leaders that are still here in the United States. I'm afraid that they'll end up on a plane and end up going back too.
After Greñas was sent back, a federal judge blocked, for now, the administration's effort to release another MS-13 leader captured by Vulcan. The fates of Crook and the other men Bukele requested be released remain unclear.
I think that this is still a very hot issue for Mr. Bukele, because Mr. Trump is not going to be there forever. A new administration can come that doesn't see this kind of agreements with very good eyes, and the gang members still have the possibility of testifying the details of their pact with Mr. Bukele.
President Nayib Bukele's state of exception is still in place.
Hemos vencido a la pesadilla que nos aterrorizaba. Ahora vamos a construir el país que soñamos.
More than 90,000 people have been arrested, many still awaiting trial.
¿Saben qué? Me tienen sin cuidado que me llamen dictador. Prefiero que me llamen dictador a ver cómo matan a los salvadoreños en las calles.
Bukele has also taken a hard line on journalists like those at El Faro, who first began reporting on his dealings with the gangs.
La oposición ha convertido la manipulación en su principal estrategia y el periodismo es una de sus principales armas.
While at a journalism conference in Costa Rica, the Martinez brothers and colleagues were warned they could be arrested if they returned to El Salvador.
Miren, nosotros ya habíamos tomado la decisión de adentrar esta tarde en El Salvador. Pero al cerrar el Foro Centroamericano de Periodismo después del último evento, un oficial de una embajada importante nos aseguró que dos fuentes distintas le aseguraron que había un despliegue policial desde anoche en el aeropuerto para capturarlo.
Todos andamos grises ahora, porque todos estamos cayendo en cuenta que en este mismo momento que estoy hablando con vos, está comenzando mi exilio definitivo del país y probablemente el de todos mis colegas del periódico. Y ese es un que cuesta aceptarla porque en mi cabeza y en la de todos, pues, los que íbamos a volar ahora, hoy en la noche íbamos a estar con nuestras familias o en la casa o en... Y que la cosa es caer en cuenta de que eso se acabó. Nadie se despierta, digo, preparado para asumirse un exiliado y asumir que muy probablemente volverás a ver tu país siendo un viejo.
Yo creo que siempre voy a creer que es valioso que la gente, en lugar de no saber, sepa.
No traigo buenas noticias. No son tiempos luminosos ni prósperos. Para el periodismo centroamericano las cosas han empeorado.
Vamos a seguir revelando, vamos a seguir descubriendo. Y yo estoy convencido, espero no ser naif en esto, de que dentro de algún tiempo voy a poder volver a mi país, a seguir haciendo lo que hago, que es periodismo.
Go to pbs.org/frontline for more reporting from our partners at Alfaro.
There was a pact between Bukele and the gangs. That is the main reason behind the huge drop in homicide rate.
And for more of our coverage of the region, see more about threats to journalism around the world. Connect with Frontline on Facebook and Instagram, and stream anytime on the PBS app, YouTube, or pbs.org/frontline.
Immigration